Hello there. I am absolutely delighted to be joined today by Samantha Jones, Moneypenny fame, and also trustee and founder member at Agents Together, and also Matt Nicol. Probably needs no introduction, very famous across our estate agency industry for having a very, very successful business. And they've both joined me today to talk about the biggest challenge I think that most people are facing right now, which is working from home and also basically being a teacher. I think that's what the challenge is.
Yeah.
So, thank you both for joining me, and thank you for taking the time out for Agents Together to give your time to help people hopefully navigate some of these difficulties.
No problem.
Welcome.
So we said we were just going to have an informal chat, and here we are. First of all, my sort of first question, and I've been open and honest. Most people know that I haven't got children, so I can't even sympathize, although I do my best to. I can't imagine what you guys are going through, but both of you have got two children. Both of you have got two children at primary school age. So perhaps you can share, I don't know, Sam, maybe you want to go first. Maybe you can share some of the challenges right now.
I think juggling meetings is a big thing for me. So I'm on a lot of Zoom and Teams calls, so that can take up a lot of time. So I have to make sure and give them a little bit of a talking to if I'm going into an important meeting that they can't come in and gate crash. My youngest likes to pop in and say hello. So I have to sort of say, if it's an internal meeting, he's met most of my team. He has met a couple of clients, but the ones that I know don't mind so much, are happy to say hello. And planning diaries and organising meetings and making sure that I wrap up so that I've got that time to go back and support the kids to get back onto their next lessons is quite a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think was it Noah that we've seen? I've definitely
Toby. Yeah, you've met Toby. Yeah,
Toby came into one of our meetings, didn't he, Sam? And he was star of the show. To be fair, he had some really great input. Okay, yeah.
He likes to say hi.
So managing time is a huge one, isn't it? Yeah. And is there any guilt around, trying to give your time to your job, which you've got to do, but also wanting to give time to your children? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I had a lot of guilt during the first lockdown, and I think I probably paid too much attention what I was seeing, what other people were doing, but everybody's in a different situation. I feel a lot more relaxed this time round. So I've tried to put some time in the day to make sure we take them outside, take them out for a walk, get them some fresh air to burn off a little bit of energy. And in between those meetings, I will check in with the kids. How are you getting on? I think it's keeping them busy, and I feel I'm in a much better place. I think I paid too much attention during the first lockdown on what everybody else was doing, whereas now I feel like I'm a lot more comfortable with what we're doing, and myself and my husband are working together as a team to support them both. So it feels a lot better this time.
That's great. You've adapted. That's great. so Matt, what about you? Challenges that you face, or indeed that your team are facing? Because I know you've got a lot of staff. How many people do you employ, if you don't mind me asking?
37, including myself now. 37. We had we had a bit of a recruitment drive last year with new office opening bits and pieces. So we do employ quite a few. We've got a few members of staff that have children, and obviously I have children myself. And I think, as Sam said, I think everyone put themselves under too much pressure in the first lockdown, because you all kind of felt like you had to deliver everything the teacher was kind of expecting, or keep them occupied and keep them busy. But this time round, I think, similar to Sam, we've understood that there's certain things that we need to get them to do, but we're not busting the gut to do absolutely everything. I mean, there is plenty that gets sent across on the app and the tablet, but there's only so much that we feel we can do. To kind of cope with it, I find that we've been doing kind of short bursts. So if I'm with them, I'm engaged with them. So we just spoke before coming on about turning off our emails, because we couldn't do this and be looking at our emails. Similarly, you can't give your child enough of your attention to be looking at your emails. So don't look at your emails for that period of time. Just be with them, be present, because actually when you get back, nothing's gone up in flames. It's all okay. The email took 45 minutes for you to get back to read it, but it hasn't caused any problems. And it's probably a better way to work, if I'm honest with you. Like you're a bit of a slave to your inbox, aren't you, all the time? You're waiting for the next one to pop up, and then you deal with it, and then you've got 3 that you haven't dealt with. But I'm definitely not a teacher. I appreciate your intro. I'm not a bad estate agent. I've got a good business. My team are amazing, but I'm definitely not a teacher, and I'm having to learn some things myself. It's like going back to school myself, learning what adverbs and all those bits and pieces are. But yeah, my son's 10, so it's getting a little bit more advanced for me than it is with Maisie. It's quite simple with Maisie. It's getting a bit more advanced when we get to Charlie's stuff.
That's yeah. You make a really good point. I think I'm glad to hear that both of you have taken the pressure off a little bit. And I suppose in lockdown 1, which seems like so long ago now, nobody really knew what on earth was going on, did they? We were all in this sort of mad panic and the pressure and expectation on ourselves. And at that point, it's fair to say that the viewings and valuations were not taking place. It was, unless they were virtual, of course. So in the property industry itself, there may have been a bit more time, and therefore you thought, right, well, I've got to assume this new role of teacher. But actually, I think the other side of it is that we're not teachers. And one of the things that I think, interestingly enough, both my parents were teachers, so I've got some context here. And one of the things that I've realized is you learn so much outside of the curriculum. And I think that that's what hopefully a lot of parents have realized this time, is that it doesn't always have to be the curriculum stuff that works, that's set where they're learning. It can be anything from reading a book to doing a jigsaw to taking part in some kind of, I don't know, Monopoly contest with their siblings if they're old enough. Just stuff that gets, all of that is learning, and we don't have to put so much pressure on ourselves to be a teacher, because we're not. Teachers have to go through 4 years of training to be a teacher, and we're thinking we can do it. We're almost undervaluing teachers, aren't we? So, okay.
Yeah, I actually find it quite enjoyable. I found it quite enjoyable because I've had, during the kind of the second lockdown, there's a period where Maisie was having to self-isolate because the whole year group went into a bubble, and we're in a bubble and they had to self-isolate. So she'd be set up here and off the sofa with a little table and stuff like that. It's quite nice, working together. And she'd pop up and have a couple of questions every now and then, but she was kind of just happy cracking on, and you kind of hear her talking to herself. And these are the things you don't get to see normally because they're at school and you don't get to absorb it. So there's definitely some positives out the back of it, but yeah, you just can't be too harsh on yourself. You're doing the best you can. You've got a business, in my case, got a business to run or a part to play within a business. And if you're an employee and you're trying to do what you can for your employer, then you just got to do your best. There's nothing else we can ask of you, really. So that's all we can ask.
I think it's good for the kids to see you working as well, because they both understand now what both myself and my husband do for a living. And I think hearing what's going on there is interesting for them. And we've taken on a bit of a role. My husband will do anything science or maths related, and anything English, that's what I will do, or anything creative. So to hear them sort of engaging with their teachers is brilliant. And I've tried to keep them in contact with their friends. So they're having a lot of FaceTime calls with their friends. And whereas, I used to hear them now and again with their friends if we went on a play date, but to hear them interacting with their buddies is quite fun to listen to as well.
Oh, that is so good. Who's the PE teacher, Sam? Just out of interest.
Oh well, I will tell them what to do and
cheer them on.
Yeah, we'll get them on their bike, and I'll get on my bike with them. But yeah, it's we try and keep them active, and having boys, they need to burn off energy. So it's just doing a little bit of everything that keeps them occupied.
I just want to touch on something that Matt said, because you talked about how this way of working that is essentially, I think it's referred to as time boxing or batch working, which I have been a huge fan of for quite some time, just in general day-to-day life, because I juggle, I wear a lot of hats, and it helps me to segment my time effectively. And I've also promoted it widely to my estate agency community in terms of, when they're setting aside time to prospect or to progress sales or whatever task it is, that if you actually put it into a box without distraction, it can really, really help with productivity. If you say, today I've got to get prospecting done, it can vary in its prioritization and actually ultimately kind of get done in the spare time, of which there is usually not. But actually, if you say, I have got between 11 and 1 to do my prospecting, or whatever, I'm just using that as an example, or between 11 and 1 to be a teacher, yeah, actually, if you give yourself that time and you know that's what you're doing, and like exactly like you said, Matt, be present, actually you find that time is so much more productive, and so is the time around it. So I completely agree with that, and I would encourage people, whether they've got children or not, to really try to adopt that way of working, especially from home, because it keeps the discipline.
Yeah, definitely. I think people get emails through to the phone, and one of the things I'm always reluctant to send an email to a member of staff which is kind of out of hours, because I have my phone set up that I will pull emails if I want to see them. Like, they don't come through to my phone unless I want to see them, and it's that kind of that working pattern that if you have your phone next to you, you're sat with your child trying to do some spelling with them, or whatever it might be, and you see emails coming through, you naturally, it's a habit, isn't it? You're going to click on it and go through it. So if you can just think, and it will reduce the amount of time that your child needs of yours as well. Like, you can be a bit more productive in that segment, and then you can get off and catch up with everything. So yeah, there's probably merits from just working that way in the future anyway. I'm a slave to my inbox. I think most people are. It's just one of those things, but it's certainly given me a bit more structure now. I'm needed by others.
Fantastic. So we've talked a little bit about the challenges, and I think there's huge amounts of challenges. We've spoken just about some tiny little proportion. I've got clients and friends who are literally sharing a kitchen table with their kids, and the kids are trying to learn and they're trying to work, and it is hard. And again, structure, taking it in turns, it seems to be the only effective way for that. But some of those challenges, you've kind of touched on it, but is there anything else, any other advice, tips that you've got for anybody who might be watching today, who might just be struggling a little bit with juggling it all? Is there anything that you would advise?
I think as an employer, you should consult with your staff regularly if they have got children, just to see how they are coping and if it is working for them. The furlough scheme, the flexible furlough scheme, is brought in to kind of assist in those cases where a member of staff can't do the job that they would normally do. And I think we've got it with a member of staff where we've gone for the flexible furlough scheme, because she doesn't want to just, get pulled out of the business and not have any involvement in a weekly basis. She knows that she's got support on a Saturday with her husband to be able to do things, so she can still work or can work for her. And I think as an employer, you need to probably just have an individual chat with each of your members of staff and just see if there's anything that they would see working better for them. Because again, like me doing my emails in a 45-minute segment, getting one day of solid work out of one member of staff instead of 4 stretched out that aren't really as much as they'd like to be doing, it could work out better. And as an employee, I suppose, if you're a member of staff, don't try and struggle on. If you need support, if you need some help, obviously your company that employs you are going to want what they can from you, but they're also going to understand that there's only certain limitations for what you can do. So just be honest with them. Don't work into the night every night at 10 o'clock and bust yourself because you're trying to keep up. Just be very honest and let them know, because no one knows what you're going through. Like, that's one thing. Everyone's got their own little bits of pain and stuff like that, but no one knows what you're going through specifically. So you've got to share it. You've got to give that information to the person you report to. Don't just speak to your colleagues about it, because actually your problems may then become their problems. You want to make sure you share it with your line manager and let them then speak to you about how you can get the solutions behind it. Because I know during the first lockdown, I wish I knew more than I did, because I wasn't getting told things, and I'd hear things, but I'd hear them too late. And you don't want people struggling around you. So just I'd say open up the flow of communication where you can, and make sure everyone that you report to knows what you're going through. And I think I'm trying to keep tabs on the kids, but sometimes cut them some slack as well. They're kids. Just let them be kids. They don't. I mean, we've gone through a big process. So I said to you guys, I'm doing some healthy habits this next 6 weeks. I'm trying to cut down sugar and all those bits and pieces, like cut out alcohol. But we've also, oh, sorry, my internet's gone slow. Am I still around?
You're still there.
Am I still there? Get better broadband as well for your internet. Yeah, I am still here. But we've also, my daughter Maisie's been kind of besotted with TikTok. She's a little dancer, so she's been all over TikTok, and I think that that's got a little bit too much. So we were actually refraining on the TikTok this week as well, which I don't know why I've done it this week, because that would have been a great distraction for her, but we're doing it.
That's
Yeah, I agree to, talk to your colleagues and talk to your team. I'd check in with my team on a regular basis, the ones that have got children, but also those that have got dependent parents that they need to support as well. There's a lot of people that have got family members that they need to support. So I think the more that we engage and understand what our colleagues and our team's problems are, that it's all about sharing and making people feel safe. So it's okay if somebody needs to take a couple of hours out of the day, that's absolutely fine. Everybody works so hard. We want to make sure that everyone's supported and they feel supported, because quite often that will be what keeps people awake at night if they're worried about coming to their line manager to say, I'm struggling, and we don't want anyone to feel that they haven't got that support that they need.
I think you both make an excellent point there, and obviously the obvious part of that is that your employee well-being, which is a big piece that Agents Together have got coming up in the next couple of months, and how we can have a real awareness of mental health in the workplace, even if it's a remote workplace. We're going to do a heap of work and education on that. But actually what you're both saying is, in essence, a happier, more open workforce who are able to share their challenges and issues with their line managers, colleagues, and just talk about it. Actually, they're probably going to be more productive, because they can just say, hey, this is the issue. Can you work with me to overcome it? And actually, it's better for them and better for the business, so everybody wins. Yet sometimes the stigma attached to just that openness and transparency and saying, actually, I'm struggling a bit, it's getting better, I think, in a way. That's one of the silver linings of coronavirus, not many at all, but actually that ability to say, actually, I'm struggling, and people being a bit more accepting of it. But being able as an employer to say, okay, thank you so much for coming to me, let's fix this together, it's going to have huge positive benefits. And I'm so pleased that both of you have just said that, because it's a real great way to be. So I'm really grateful for that. And okay, so we're going to wrap up. We said we were going to keep this nice, short and sweet for people, nice bite size, bit of input for people. Hopefully they feel that we're all in solidarity, especially you two with your two children. And but if you were to give one sentence, one message to people out there who are like heads exploding, working from home, under pressure, homeschooling, what would it be? I'm going to let you fight over who goes first.
For me, I would
Ladies
say,
first.
and I touched on it before, is don't observe too much what everybody else is doing. What everyone puts on social media, they might put that they're stood with a chalkboard and they're teaching their kids and doing a great job, but actually everyone's got their own stuff going on and everyone's situation is different. So don't compare yourself to others, because not everyone's the same and everyone's dealing with their own challenges. I think that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sam. Matt?
I was going to go for that. No, cut yourself some slack and run and scrum. So go at it hard when you have chance to work, and then relax when you don't need to. When you've got your team, when you've got your child there with you, then spend some time with them. And when you get back to your computer, catch up in 45 minutes, then go back and do what you need to do with your little one. There's gaps kind of built into their days normally for that very reason, that they realise probably that parents do need to have some time to themselves to crack on with the other bits and pieces. So yeah, run and scrum and cut yourself some slack.
Perfect. Great advice. And I say this all the time and openly, and mine would just so much be not only be kind to others, but just be kind to yourself. I mean, we have all and are all going through the weirdest time. It's kind of incomprehensible in most cases. We're all doing a blooming good job. I nearly swore then. We're all doing a blooming good job, and it's just be kind to yourself, just be forgiving. No one knows the answer. No one's an expert in what to do here. So it's just about doing the best that you can do, and reaching out if you need support as well is a big one. So thank you both so much for taking the time out to talk to me and to talk to the people that are watching this, more importantly, who I'm sure will take some great snippets of advice from what you've just given there. So thank you, and I'll speak to you both very soon.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye all.